Experimental music. Experimental music. What is that all about?
Barbershop is in danger of growing stale. I'm taking it to strange new places.
Number 8. Number 8. Number 8. Number 8.
Very timely that this vinyl tag on experimental music was just released. I've been getting into a lot of experimental music, so thank you for Mr. Motoric247 for issuing this. Let me get into some experimental music and get through his questions here. So the first question was an album of improvised music, and this is what we're hearing. Available on CD only. Nels, Cline, and Thurston from Sonic Youth did an in-store appearance at Rhino Records in Westwood. Store doesn't exist anymore, but I used to shop there when I went to UCLA, and Nels Cline actually used to work there. So these two guys went into the store, got up on the little stage, and did 40 minutes of pure improvised music. The first section of this is sort of very mellow, a little bit droney, a little bit ambient, but very beautiful. And then in the next movements, they call it, it gets rowdier, loops, noise, chaos, etc. There is no frontal booklet. It's just the CD with a picture of the two guys in the record store. Very cool record that I don't think is very well known. Another purely improvised record. To me, pure improvised means there's no song, there's no structure. We just get on stage and go. Maybe there's a discussion about whether it's a fast piece or a slow piece, but I just got this record. Peter Brotsmann, sort of the granddaddy of improvised, loud, noisy, screechy jazz on the saxophone. Peter Brotsmann, Milford Graves on drums, who just died, and William Parker, excellent bass player. Historic music, past tense future on the Black Editions archive label. This was actually recorded at CBGB's back in 2002, but just came out. 2-record set, nice artwork. Cool, but noisy, improvised, and experimental music. Show a record featuring a Moog synthesizer. Is it Moog? Is it Moog? I like to say Moog. And coincidentally, I just got this CD set ordered on eBay. It's got an ugly sticker, but the early gurus of electronic music, 4-disc set, 3 CDs, and 1 DVD. I could literally do this entire video with just pieces on this disc. So why am I talking about it now? There is some good Moog and Moog stuff on here, but Klaus Schulze, Mind Phaser, 1975 on the brain label, little brain there. There's him and his synthesizers. Klaus Schulze, German, obviously. There's a song in here called Mogatech, Weird Caravan, Mind Phaser, Some Velvet Phasing, maybe a homage to Some Velvet Morning, I don't know, but there he is with all his Moogs and Moogs. Moog. But we got better synthesizers than that. We got the Buchla, and Morton Subotnick is probably the best known Buchla. Weird music notation that you would expect from the synthesizer gurus. Morton Subotnick, it looks like actually played at my school in 1975, the piece Touch, and as kids we didn't know what the heck that was. It was just some weird guy making bleepy bloopy noises with a lot of wires, but years later I realized that was Morton Subotnick, and I'm very lucky to have seen him play live, and he is still alive in his, 80s? Field recorded sound. Okay, I'm going to tell you about what I think is one of the coolest field recorded recordings. And this was never released on a record, but it is a record because it was recorded on video. So let me take you back to 1999. The location was the back roads, the country roads of rural Texas, and the instruments or the stars used in this video, the back roads of Texas, rusty Texas pickup truck, about 20 feet of rope, and a Fender Stratocaster. So let me show you a clip of a piece from 1999 by Christian Marclay called Guitar Drag. Okay, the full video is 14 minutes long. I just showed you a few seconds, but at the end of the 14 minutes, the guitar is basically completely destroyed. Now, this was a piece of performance art that Christian Marclay put together to, well, it was his interpretation, let's say, of the murder of a black man in Texas about a year previous, who died in the same way that this guitar was destroyed. Very brutal, horrible murder. Obviously racist situation, and the hate crime bill that came into being a few years later was named after this gentleman. Christian Marclay does a lot of really cool stuff using multimedia, not just vinyl, but all kinds of sound and imagery, and he does make some records, but he's really thought of mostly as a experimental visual and performance artist. So that's my field recording. You can watch it on YouTube. It has been performed at some different museums, but it exists today as a YouTube video. Okay, where's my... I pulled out a Sun record to show a drone. I mean, any Sun record is going to work, but here's the one that's laying in the other room. Maybe I'll edit it in. And if anybody tries to sell you this Sun record, don't fall for it. Sun joke for you Sun fans out there. Okay, spoken word record. Let's talk about the great minimalist composer Stephen Reich. How do you pronounce his name? Stephen Reich. Early pioneer in using things like tape loops and minimalism. He did a record, which I can't find. Trust me, I have it on CD, called Different Trains. And the spoken word aspect is he took a bunch of Holocaust survivors and recorded them discussing their experience, not in the camps, but on the trains to the camps, and other things. And he edited out those little phrases and set those to music. I think he calls it speech melody. So the record Different Trains came out with a Kronos quartet. I mean, he wrote the music to mimic the tonal patterns of the people's voice, and he would repeat them and loop them. So spoken word turned into music. Number 6, process voice. This is a track off the Guru's CD compilation I told you about. Charles Dodge, early 70s, I think, did this speech synthesis thing with Bell Labs or AT&T. So I don't know if you can hear it, but early synthesized voice. It's really not processed voice, it's synthesized voice. But it is freaking bizarre. Very cool. Charles Dodge. Check it out, guys. That's enough to give you a nightmare, that thing. Okay, record from an artist from the Nurse with Wound list. I can't find my Negative-Land record. It's out there somewhere. They do like collages of very subversive stuff. It's around here somewhere. I'll show you the photo. I've got a couple of Stockhausen records. Heinz Stockhausen, one of the most important experimental composers of the last century. This is just piano pieces. His cooler stuff is electronic and weird stuff. But also wanted to show you Frank Zappa, Mothers of Invention, which I have somewhere, because he has his own Nurse with Wound list on there. It's the Zappa list. In the inside of the gatefold, he lists something like, I don't know, 50 or 60 artists that influenced him, just the way the Nurse with Wound list came together. And probably a lot of the same people appear on there. Varese and Xenakis and Stockhausen and John Cage, I'm guessing, are probably on both lists. So, a list of a list, something like that. Record featuring toy instruments. How about a group that is all toy instruments? Pianosaurus, known for playing the toy piano. This is my wife's record. I would call this a pop record because it has songs on it with normal melodies. It's not all that experimental in terms of its songwriting, but certainly in terms of its instrumentation. On the IRS label, Peter Holsapple from the DBs is on here. That's cool. My wife's record, I don't know it that well. My favorite toy music thing would be, how about the Baby Song by Husker Du on the slide whistle. That's a cool track. My records are a mess, strewn about 7 or 8 rooms. I can never find what I need to pull, so I'm going to edit some of these covers in. Hope you don't mind, you don't have a choice. And I'm going to edit in some of my own weirdo music experiments. I do like to experiment with weird sounds, guitars, homemade synthesizers. I made this from a kit, Bleep Labs. My channel is full of nonsensical experimental music tracks. So thanks guys for watching, and don't forget, stay tuned for some weird experimental noise experiments.